Lynn, since we've got a couple minutes, could you sign out and come back with your last name so we know for sure who you are? And it'll help us keep track.
Hi, Sophia. Welcome.
Sorry about that, but we want to be sure that we know that you're here and that we'll recognize your name when you come back. Thanks so much.
I'd be interested in knowing how much each of you knows about what the Special Library Association is and does, and even what the term special libraries means, because I had no idea until I joined this group last year, or actually until I took Dr. D's Info 204 class last year.
Great question. I think that would be an excellent question for someone to, for everybody to chime in and give a little bit of information on that. That's a great idea. Why don't we do that?
Okay, for those who just came back, the question was, what do you know, especially the new folks, what do you know about Special Libraries Association, if anything? If you don't know anything, that's okay. You're going to learn a lot during this evening. But if you have stuff you know, go ahead and pop in and tell us what you know about special libraries.
Do any of you work in special libraries? I know that some of you have chosen SLA as the team you want to be on, so maybe you already work in one.
Okay, so we've got folks who are interested in more information. You have come to the right place.
Lynn, I see your mic on, but I don't hear you.
Okay, good. I can't tell. My eyes aren't as good. Well, I was just going to say, when I first decided that I deserved to go to library school, one of my primary motivations actually was working in a law library. And I have since learned more about what law library does. It's a special library that's specific to legal documents and categorization and archiving of legal documents. And I happened to be driving by, it's in downtown San Jose, and I cannot recall the name, but there's a law library right in downtown San Jose. And I said, oh my goodness, that would just, I can imagine that walking in that building would be like a fascinating collection, fascinating. And the purpose of legal law is, as I'm coming to understand, is to help litigators find cases and precedential documents, documents of precedence for building their supporting arguments. So, I mean, that's the little bit I know about special libraries, or that I think I know, and why I'm interested in learning more.
Well, great. Thank you to everyone for attending. It looks like it's pretty much leveled out in people joining now, so I think we're going to go ahead and get started. And with that, I am going to hand it over to our fantastic programming team and our immediate past president, Dana Lema.
Hi, everyone. I am Shanice Williams, the Assistant Programming Director for SLASC, and I am a second year MLIS student at the iSchool. I want to say thank you for joining us this evening. Tonight we have SLASC's past president. Dana will begin our program with an introduction to our student organization, and then we will jump into our discussion theme, which is what I wish I knew then. And we have several current iSchool students and a recent graduate who will share their experiences and insight on this topic. And then our event will conclude with closing remarks from our current president, Jonathan. Also, as mentioned before, we may have some time at the end for those who are new to ask questions, and hopefully we can socialize further. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Dana.
Thanks so much. Shanice. Hi, everybody. My name is Dana, and as Shanice said, I'm the immediate past president, which basically means that last year I served as president for the organization, and this year we have the fabulous Jonathan. And he'll be talking to you at the end of the session. I just put the link to our website there, and I encourage everybody to explore that when you have a chance after the session. And some of the things I do want to do is make sure that you understand we would love for you to join our group. Special Libraries Association Student Chapter is for students who have expressed an interest in perhaps going into some kind of special library. We heard one person earlier talking about one example of a special library, which is a legal library. Other types of special libraries can include medical libraries. Dr. D, who is our advisor, comes from the medical library world. And then special libraries can span a huge range, everything from wine libraries to zoo libraries to national park libraries to government libraries, all that focus on some sort of special provision for its customers or for its patrons. So if you want to join Special Libraries Association, it's pretty simple. You just go to the website, STEM Libraries, there's another one. Go to that website that I posted there, and on the left-hand side, on the left-hand column, you'll see a very brief, very simple form you fill out. It's free to SJSU students, so it doesn't cost you anything. And you do not have to be a member of the National SLA. I'll always encourage people to join SLA, but you don't have to be a member of the National SLA organization in order to be part of the student organization. We have a lot of fun. We have some great activities. The first slide that you saw was some of the activities we have coming up, including a visit to the Presidio. Professor Michael Stevens is going to be talking to us sometime in November. And then we also, on October 3rd, we're going to be talking about international librarianship and competency O in your core competencies. So, feel free to join us. Anybody's welcome to join us for any of those particular workshops, and we would love to see you. We also have task forces, volunteer work groups, and need for officers. So whenever you see information come out asking to join us as a group, please feel free to do that. We'd love to have you. We'd love to have you involved. And first semester student, doesn't matter. We would love to have you and be part of our group. So let's see. Shanice, can you advance to my slide with the bullet points, please? Or somebody? Okay, here we go. What I wish I knew then. There we go. Okay, so I'm doing kind of a combination welcome, and I'm also going to talk a bit about things that I knew when I first started. I'm almost done with the program, the MLS program, and I'm in my last 2 semesters. I'll submit my application for candidacy in the next week or so. Yes, I'm so excited. And I should start working on my e-portfolio next semester. So I'm seeing the end here. I'm almost done. Fingers crossed. So some things that I wish I had known first going in were that in that first semester, I thought, gosh, I'm so new. I don't know anything. I don't know anything about libraries. I had come from a totally different background, nonprofit management and directorship, nothing to do with libraries. So I figured that there was just joining a student professional organization that early really didn't make sense. And I happened to become involved with Special Library Student Chapter when there was a call for a special task force to work on putting together our iSchool Zazzle store, which is a store where you can buy hats, shirts, so forth and so on with the iSchool logo. And so I was part of that task force. And then from there, I actually was able to become an officer on the executive committee. But I found out from that experience, even though I was still a very new student, I was in my 2nd semester at that time, that joining a professional organization is really helpful, and it helps you overcome some of the overwhelming factors that happen when you're in a new program, because you form some friendships, you form some bonds, you form a group of people you can ask questions of, and it's really very helpful. The one thing that I wish I had known and that kind of made me hesitant to join some special student chapters or some of the professional student chapters were that I didn't have to be a member of the national organization. So, you know, that was nice. It was, you know, I eventually became a member of the national organization, but it was nice that on a student budget that I could be involved with a professional group of students with the same interests and didn't have to put out the money for the national dues. Serving as an officer for a student organization is something that a new student can do. We have several people in our executive committee that were very new students when they joined our team, our executive committee team last semester, and we've got lots of people who have been around a little bit longer who have mentored them and helped them grow into their positions. Yeah, Jonathan says, I did it, I'm president. Yes, he was very new and we're mentoring him and we've brought him up into the position. So don't be shy. If you feel like you have that spark that you want to participate as an officer, even if you're a new student, go for it. Another thing I wish I'd known was the tremendous amount of networking that you can find in the student groups. And that's with the students, your fellow students, many of whom are probably already working in libraries or in the library industry somewhere, but also with our speakers. We have some awesome guest speakers that come that are already involved in libraries. Our advisor, of course, Dr. D, is fabulous to network with, and she knows lots of people. And so that networking is really key, and that is a big part of what's going to help you get jobs after you graduate, too, if you don't already have a job in the library field. So, you know, I'd encourage you to join us and participate in our programs and in our activities, because those are really, really excellent ways for you to network. I also wish I had known earlier that the work that you're doing in your executive committee or on task forces, for example, I've been in a couple different task forces, can be used as evidence in your e-portfolio. And in general, I would tell you, past work experience, volunteer experience, task force experience, it doesn't just have to be stuff you used in your class. It can be stuff that comes from your past that is applicable in your e-portfolio, so keep that in mind. And then the last but not least, and the thing that probably keeps me most involved with special libraries is the people, and that we have fun. We have a lot of fun. And for me, being somewhat extroverted, being in an entirely online program was a little bit hard because I wasn't making connections with people or making friendships, which are important to me. And being involved in a student organization has helped me become friends with people and get to know them really well. And I've met quite a few in person, which has been awesome. And so there's that outlet for me, and we have a good time. So feel free to join us. We're a lot of fun. And we hope to see you around in some of our future events. So now, I've forgotten who I'm handing off to. Who am I handing off to, Shanice? Swetta. Okay. Okay, so Swetta's up next. Take it away, Swetta.
Thank you, Dana. Thank you so much. So my name is Swetta Abeyta, and I've been part of the MLIS program for 2 years now. And unlike Dana, I'm nowhere close to finishing, only because I'm doing this program part-time. I work, and I have a family that keeps me busy with 2 kids that have a multitude of activities where I'm basically just driving them everywhere. But I had the good fortune of actually working in special libraries. I worked in 2 different special libraries, and they were an amazing way to just gain a lot of experience and get in a sense of, this is something beyond an academic at a public library to what we're usually used to. And now that I joined this group with Dr. D's urging, I'm the membership director as part of the SLA group, and I've learned even more about what types of other special libraries there are, including some of our members that have worked in like medical libraries, for example. So it's been fantastic. So one thing I want to talk to you about was when I first started, what I was really intimidated by was our the core competencies and sort of keeping track of how I'm going to make sure that I fulfill all these competencies as part of the e-portfolio. And I found the tool that San Jose State has where you can keep track of your core competencies to be extremely useful. And so what I did was I created a spreadsheet that I keep and that I update every semester. And this tool lets me see what classes I signed up for, what core competencies they fulfill. And so I just put a check mark by all the core competencies that my core classes and then my other electives, how they're fulfilled. And this is just a really nice way for me to keep track of the fact that although I'm doing the whole slow and steady wins the race with my 4-year program that I'm in, yeah, I know that I'm getting through my core competencies, and also keep track of the ones that I'm missing. So right now, I'm not doing so great with my competency O, and I need to keep track of that. And so I have a link to, Jennifer, you didn't know, yes, it's really great. This tool is really wonderful. So I have a link right here. Thanks for the live link, Rebecca. And it's just it's a great way to just fill in, and it tells you which competencies your class will fulfill. So keep track of it that way. Get into your librarian mindset by keeping a dorky spreadsheet like I do, and smile knowing that you'll be able to get through it. So this is an example of what mine looks like, and you can see like I don't have anything in O. So that's my goal for the next few semesters, is I have to make sure that I, sign up for programs or take classes that fulfills that competency. And it's also just a nice spreadsheet for me to just say like, okay, here's what I've done, and this is what these are how many units they were. And so when it comes time for me to fulfill my, work on my e-portfolio, I'll be hopefully ready to go. So that's one big thing that I learned very early on that has been extremely useful. And then once you get past your core classes, I saw from our earlier chat sessions that a lot of you are taking your core classes right now. I would encourage you to diversify what type of electives you take. And I don't just mean like, just take one class in the public library section and one class in academic. What I really mean by that is look through a class and figure out, does this class have group work, or does this class have a lot of writing, or is this class where I'm creating a database and working on my own. What I found useful on my end, just so that I didn't get bored or didn't get too stressed doing just one type of thing, I take classes that offer different types of things. So I'm taking a class this semester where I'm blogging a lot and I'm doing a lot of writing, and then another class where I'm going to be, just doing more like reference interviews and little short writing sessions. So that I found to be useful to just sort of diversify your classes. And also, subject matter too. And just because I am one of those people who I don't want to just get caught in one thing. I want to take different types of courses and go beyond what where I'm geared towards. Let's see. So the other thing I wanted to say, and I know others are going to mention this as well, is I've worked in the library field for a long time. But one thing I found before I started this program was that signing up and going to conferences is absolutely essential. So if you can, get a grant to go to a conference or go to a local conference for a minimal amount of money, or even travel, I highly recommend it. The conferences have just been completely invaluable, and not just for learning more about libraries, but also future jobs. So that's where the networking is going to happen. And I've met many people who have just, met face-to-face and been able to get jobs at conferences. And at library conferences, you're not only going to meet other librarians, but you're also going to meet other types of companies. So for 10 years, I worked at a library software company, and that was a job that I got from attending an SLA conference actually. So I think that that's one of those things where you just have to keep that in mind. And I know that they can be very expensive, but there's wonderful grants out there, so I encourage you to take advantage of that. All right, so I'm going to be introducing Rebecca Leung. Rebecca is one of the lucky ones. She graduated from iSchool and completed her e-portfolio in May 2017. So take it away, Rebecca.
Thank you, Swetta. That was wonderful. I'm really enjoying hearing everybody's comments about what they wish they learned. And yes, I am one of the lucky ones. I just finished the e-port in May 2017, and I concentrated in archives and records. As an SLA SC member, I started in 2015, and I served as a webmaster and also a member at large. So I'm currently working at the Federal Reserve Research Library and Archives in San Francisco and the Bancroft Library at UC Berkeley. So I wanted to talk about internships. I've had 2 internships, one at UC Berkeley's Environmental Design Archives and one at the Bay Area Video Coalition. And I'm actually starting a third, a virtual internship with SAA for the archival history section. And just like Swetta was mentioning about conferences, I get a lot out of internships because it's that same kind of like interaction with people that are actually working in the field. So first, of course, make connections. Internships are a great way to make connections with people, and actually at the end of it, if you had a good experience or you did some good work, I would recommend that you get a reference letter from your site supervisor, and that goes a long way in getting a job. You can also find out if you like that career direction. Like I wasn't entirely sure what I wanted to do with my MLIS, so I tried out a couple different things that I thought I might like. I learned about archive space, I did some media preservation, and now I'm actually using my webmaster skills to work on the archival history section's newsletter website that they're creating. So there are many different ways to find an internship. I know we're all like talking virtually here, so I just wanted to reassure you that there are both virtual and in-person internships that you can find on the iSchool internship database. And if you hadn't had a look at that, I recommend that you take a look at it because they've got a lot of great resources. And here's the thing that I really wish that I knew when I first started, because I was really excited to do an internship. And I thought that I had to wait because to get an official, to enroll in 294, you need to have finished 200, 202, 203, 204, and have had 9 units of electives. So I was like, oh, I just started, but I really want experience, and I definitely, it's going to take me a couple of years to finish that. But there's a way around that because some of the internships don't require that you do them for credit. Some do, you have to be careful, but you can look at that internship database and actually contact the people and say, hey, look, I want to do this internship, but I'm not, I can't get credit. Is it okay? And I've heard of people that can do that, kind of go around the system, and I think that's totally fine. And like I mentioned, for the people who are maybe in a remote location that it's hard to find an internship, virtual internships are actually out there. I think Jennifer Castle maybe is doing a virtual internship in this group, and like I said, I'm doing one, and they're actually pretty fun, and we're all used to it now with this online platform. So, and at the end of your internship, and in addition to getting that reference letter, you might want to make a blog post. That's great e-port experience, e-port evidence. Definitely, like that would be wonderful to have a blog post about your internship. Or I actually designed a poster after I did my BAVAC internship, and I presented it at SAA. And you can also write an article for like a publication, because I think that we all like to hear about what each other is doing and learn from each other. So just spread the knowledge and keep adding to that professional conversation about what's going on. So yes, this is my poster from SAA, and it was called Learning About Media Preservation from Legacy to Next Generation. I've got all these neat pictures of old media on there. So that's all I wanted to say about that, and I would like to introduce Kelley Presley, who is one of SLA's Assistant Social Media Coordinators.
Thank you, Rebecca. Hello, my name is Kelley Presley, and I live in Boulder, Colorado. And as Rebecca said, I am the Assistant Social Media Coordinator for SLA. I am in my final semester of the MLIS program. I'm doing my e-portfolio this fall. Waiting to hear back on my first comp that I submitted this week, and I'm about to stress myself out. I went full-time. It's taken me 2 years to graduate. I was lucky enough to be able to stop working and devote myself completely to school, because I figured I've waited 15 years to finally pursue my dream of getting my master's, and I wanted to do it right. And so I quit working and devoted all of my time to school. And what I wish I had known whenever I first started, because it had been so long since I had been in school, I was a little overwhelmed and kind of scared because it had been so long. I had never done a completely online program before, and so I just completely focused on classes and didn't look for any kind of extracurricular activities really until probably a year into my my school program. And that is something that I wish that I could have changed, that I had thought to open myself up to being in student programs, student organizations, because networking is one of the best things about being in the student organizations. You get to network with your peers, who will also be your professional peers after graduation. You get to network with professionals that are already working in the program or working in the sector. They support you and encourage you throughout your program. You can turn to them for advice. You can get great references from these network connections that you've made, job opportunities, which is actually, I said that I wasn't working. I am working. I'm working as a collaborate assistant for the school, which was brought to my attention through a networking connection that I had made. So the more you can reach out and be involved with other people, it's not always just about your classes. It's being networked with other people who are going to be in the same field with you. I have made so many amazing connections in just the short amount of time that I've been involved with the student councils, and I've gone a little rampant. I'm actually sitting on the executive committee or board of directors in 3 student organizations, just because I love to network with people so much and make those connections, because they're going to be so important after I graduate. Plus, it's just wonderful to meet so many people. So really, that's what I wish I had known, not to be so focused on your courses and your classes and grades like I was, that you lose sight of making connections with those people that you're going to be working with in the future. So that's all from me, and I am very pleased to turn the microphone over to the current president, Jonathan.
Hi there, everyone. So thank you for attending. I'm Jonathan Christensen. I am the president for SLA this year. I'm also the president of the up-and-coming first-generation student group, so I, like Kelley, am very involved and very busy. But it's awesome, and it's totally worth it. And so everybody here has kind of said, you know, how great it is to be involved in the student group. I'm going to kind of tell you a lot of the same. But one of the other things I do want to impress upon people is it doesn't take a lot. Just being involved doesn't mean you have to be the president of, you know, every student organization on campus. It doesn't mean you have to be the president of even one. Just getting involved as an assistant, or just sending an email to somebody on the, you know, in a group that you're interested in and saying, hey, I can't really, you know, take on a full-time position or a title or anything like that, but I really would like to be involved. You know, how can I help? We're all students. We all have crazy, busy lives. You know, we always need help. Whether it's our group, you know, of course I would love everybody to be helping out with SLA, but if it's SAA or VCARA or any of those student groups on campus, just get involved. Because it really does make a huge difference. And so that kind of goes to my first point of what I didn't know was how social an online school can be, both online and in person. Coming into an online class, I had taken online classes in my undergraduate, and I really did not think that I was going to get a lot of social aspect. And that was something I was seriously concerned about. And the one thing I've learned is that the only thing about not having a social life as part of a student group is by not getting involved. If you don't get involved, if you just do your coursework and make your submissions and make your minimum post, you know, comments on posts for your class, you're going to run into a feeling of isolation. And so the best way to avoid that is to just get out there. And I know we're naturally all introverts. I think that's kind of something that comes with being librarians. And so I'll get into a little bit at the end. But yeah, I just want to really remind people, this really can be social. You know, I've had a great time now online and in person with fellow classmates. And that kind of goes back to some points that were made earlier about conferences. And conferences, you can get scholarships and grants for travel. So for instance, this past summer, I got a travel stipend to go out to Phoenix for SLA conference, and had a fantastic time. And it was almost entirely paid for. And it covered my registration and my travel. And with that, I actually got to meet probably half a dozen or so of my classmates that I work in SLA with. And several of us hit it off, and some of us are now great friends, and I'm proud to actually call these people my friends. So it's really, really kind of fantastic. And I know I'm jumping around a little bit here on my slide, but bear with me. I'm kind of taking everything that everybody else said and trying to just re-emphasize it. So the next thing I want to talk about is job variety within the MLIS field. I had no idea how many job opportunities are out there when you have an MLIS. And so I challenge you to think outside of the box and think outside of your comfort zone with things. For instance, my background is in history and anthropology. Never thought I'd be doing anything science-based, just because I do history and anthropology. Now I am currently doing an internship at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, and it is the coolest internship I could have ever asked for. And I'm actually proud to say, and I can officially announce this, my committee members don't know this yet, but I was actually have been offered a permanent position with the lab. So, I mean, but I never in a million years would have applied for that position, you know, an internship with a STEM library, because it was outside my comfort zone. I did history and anthropology. So I really encourage you to broaden your horizons. Look for things that may not necessarily have been what you were expecting. That's one of the things I wish I knew, because I think I would have had even more opportunities come up for me earlier in my program. And with that, that brings resume building. While building and attending an online school, you have a tremendous ability to build your resume. Don't think that being online means that you can't do that. Having something like being, an assistant communications director, or, an assistant social media director, or a president of a student group for an online school does not in any way take away from the fact that you are holding a position with the student group. You are actively engaged in extracurricular activities, and that is stuff that can be put on your resume. That shows leadership skills. That shows, a tenacity and an enjoyment of getting out there and being a go-getter. And that's what, our profession likes to see. We are a profession of change, and we, are trying to be on the, front end of technology and things like that. And like Kelley's saying, it's a rewarding feeling, and Dana, that's absolutely correct. It shows collaboration skills. That's something that we have to be really good at as librarians. So I just, challenge you to remember that this is a resume building opportunity that can give you a leg up and an advantage when you go to the job market. I'm going to kind of, beat the horse dead, but networking is key. I wish I had known that when I first started. I think I jumped into it pretty quickly. I picked it up pretty fast. But, just getting out there and talking to people. I joined a couple student groups. I'm not necessarily in all of those student groups now. But I met people that I have now met in other places. So, for instance, we went to Yosemite last semester, a group of us from this group. And I actually met in person people that I had met in other student groups that I had not known better just because it was an online setting. You have a fantastic opportunity to meet great people. And through networking, that's actually how I got my internship. I was just sent out an email for SLA and happened to meet the manager at JPL. So there are fantastic opportunities out there if you just talk to people. I've met the director of the library at the State Department. I've met great people that have already, in just a few short months since I've met them, have made a tremendous impact on my career and my direction. Because ultimately that's what we're all here for. We're all here for a career that we're passionate about and that we enjoy. And your connections, yes, Dana, connections. That is how so many of us are successful. And it's really key. Scholarships and grants, I'll just go over that one more time. Really apply for those. If you see something and it takes, yes, it takes some time, but apply for it. Even if you're like, that's a scholarship to a conference that I don't even know if I can really go to, apply for it. Try for it. Because one of my mottos is, if it's meant to be, it will be. If it's not, it's not. And so when I think of that, I apply for stuff. I sign up for things. Even if I'm not 100% sure that I can go, so long as that's not a problem, of course, if they're saying, don't sign up if you can't come. But I just mean, I sign up for and apply for grants and things. And if I don't get them, then I feel like, okay, well, then I wasn't meant to go with that. But if I do get them, sometimes I'm like, that's a struggle. But you know what? I think I can make it happen. And if I can, I do. And so that kind of leads to my last motto at the iSchool is, if you can say yes, then just say yes. There's so many great opportunities out there that you don't want to miss out on. And sometimes, I've gone to fantastic conferences. There was a few down in San Diego that I wanted to go to that you know, I wasn't quite sure if I wanted to drive down to San Diego. That's like a 2-hour drive from where I live. You know, that's not super convenient. You know, but I was like, you know what? I'm going to try it. And so I applied for a travel stipend from them, and they gave me a 1-day travel stipend, paid for my hotel for the night, and it was inconvenient. It really was, to drive down to San Diego late one night, leave my family, stay at a hotel by myself, you know, go to a conference where I didn't know anybody. And there I ended up meeting 6 people who all work in the local library system that I live in. And you know, now I have great contacts. I actually have a mentor now from another event that was similar. So I just really challenge people, you know, and I wish somebody had told me this, but if you can say yes, then just say yes. Even if it's a struggle, even if it's inconvenient, even if it just sounds like, oh, that's a lot of driving, or that's a long commitment, or, you know, that would be a really hard commute to do. If you can do it, because it can be so rewarding and so worth it. And just like everybody's saying, you know, in the chat box, grants are out there, and so many of them go unfilled. And I wish I had known that. But grants for classes, for travel, for conferences, and I started applying for those. And the ones that I've gotten have truly changed my experience with SLA, my experience with school, and my career trajectory. So I just really, you know, want to impress upon everybody to do it if you can. With that, I'm going to try to give us some time for questions. You know, that's kind of it for me. If anybody has questions, feel free to raise your hand. If I can get somebody to try to, someone from our executive committee to watch and try to track the hand raisings. But if you want to speak, feel free to raise your hand. And if you want to just type a question in the box, feel free to type a question either to any of us or directly at somebody, and let us know. And once again, thank you for attending. If you don't hear from me again, thank you so much for coming, and please, please, please keep coming to our events. You know, we love to see people, and we love to, you know, interact with everybody.
Excellent presentation by our speakers. I am very impressed. I think that this is extremely valuable, and as I posted to the moderators, I'm going to ask that we stop the presentations because I would like to capture this and put it in my 204 class so that those who have not been attending this particular presentation will have the benefit of this absolutely excellent presentation. Congratulations on all the wonderful information that you've imparted. Very, very valuable. Thank you.
Jonathan, there's a question there for you. It says, do you have any advice about where to look for grants?